Radiant and Resilient is about mindset and faith to break paradigms and overcome challenges in our life. Because when the mind, body, and spirit are aligned, we literally radiate from the inside out. I'm Kay Vasquez. Let's dive in. I am so excited to be interviewing Melissa Long because it's just been an incredible journey. To give you a little bit of a background, she came to see me back in 2020, right before the pandemic, as a client. She had so many issues, which we're going to dive into on this episode, but she's just been on a journey of just really understanding her body and her health to the point that she transitioned from working as a nurse in oncology to creating her own functional medicine business and has just really been successful in the online space. In fact, she's known as Natural Minded Mama on Instagram. So if you haven't heard of her, I highly recommend go check her out. But before I give you more information, more details, I'd rather her share her story because it's just an incredible, impactful, inspiring one, because so much has changed since I first saw her. And just getting the opportunity to reconnect with her after all these years, I'm just really, really excited. So without further ado, welcome to Radiant and Resilient, Melissa.
Thank you, Kate. Yes, it's been such a blessing. Who knew? We were just laughing about it before this episode that things would come full circle. And here we are, both in functional medicine, both with children, like a few weeks apart from each other. And it's been really cool. So God is good. And
God is so good, yes.
I am excited to share my story with you guys. It's a pretty crazy one, so buckle up. I have been told I need to write a book someday, so that's being backburnered because I really do have a story worth sharing, and I'm excited to be able to share with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just jump on in, share a little bit about your story from where you were to where you are now.
Awesome. Sounds good. So when I was 10 years old, I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer with no family history at all. So you can imagine that kind of rocked my whole world, turned everything upside down. Unfortunately, the tumor burst my kidney and caused the cancer to spread everywhere. So by the time we found out that I had it, it was already in my stomach, my liver, my lungs. It was pushing on my heart, extending down into my pelvis. It was all over. It was bad. It was bigger than a football. And at the time, I was this little 10-year-old tiny little thing. When we found it, it was bulging out of my stomach at that point. So it was bad. My parents were given about a 20% chance of survival for me, and which is just every parent's worst nightmare, having to hear that. And then I started treatments. The tumor was too big to be removed initially, so they treated me with intense chemo and radiation, and they were able to shrink the tumor down to like a cantaloupe size and then remove 90% of it. And I was very sick throughout my treatments, so I spent a lot of time in the hospital. I had a central line infection that almost killed me. They had to do emergency surgery in my bed because I was so sick, hallucinating and seizing with such a high temperature that they didn't even have time to get me down to the OR. So craziness. But I finished my 9-month protocol. And when they did the surgery to remove the tumor, they were able to get 90% of it out, but 10% was still dangerously wrapped around my liver. So they said, well, have you finish out your protocol, and that should take care of that extra 10%, not to worry. Well, I finished the protocol, and that 10% was still there. The chemo and radiation didn't touch it. So they prepared my family for a dangerous surgery called a Whipple procedure, and basically told us that the risks of that were extremely high, but it was the only option since I didn't respond to the chemo and the radiation. So at this point, I had people all over the country praying for me. I was getting cards from people in states I didn't even know anybody in, and it was such a beautiful thing. So my parents activated all these prayer chains, and people just started praying like crazy for this surgery. And I have to feel like there were also people praying that I wouldn't even need the surgery, because what ended up happening was I got my pre-surgery CT scan, and that 10% of tumor had disappeared.
Wow.
completely. No treatment, nothing, just a lot of prayers and a lot of faith. And I left a lot of doctors speechless that day too. Um, but I knew all along that it was God and that He had a plan and a purpose for me. And I have not had any traces of cancer since, thank the Lord.
Praise God.
Yeah, so good. And I knew I wanted to become a nurse because of what I had been through. So I told God at the young age of 11, if you help me beat this, I will go back and help others. So I knew at a really young age that that was my passion and my heart and what I wanted to do. And what I didn't know was that because I was treated with all of those harsh treatments, a lot of health issues were going to follow. So that's exactly what happened. I was trying to adjust back into normal life after going through something so traumatic and so hard, and was having difficulty doing that. And all of a sudden, I'm bombarded with health issues all in the same year. I was 15 years old, about to start high school, and I was diagnosed with heart issues, circulation issues, blood sugar issues, really bad scoliosis, which was leading to really bad back pain, and neuropathy. So, bam, like you survived cancer, but now you've got a whole nother battle ahead of you with all these chronic health issues from the treatments you received. So I was thrust back into a world of doctor's visits, and my life just felt like it's just going to be something medical. They just basically kept telling me this is the life of a cancer survivor and you should just be grateful you're alive, but this is what you're going to deal with. And so that became my new normal, trying to complete high school while dealing with all these chronic health issues and not really getting a lot of answers or support from the doctors. They didn't have a lot of resources set up for childhood cancer survivors back then. So it was basically like, well, this is your life, figure it out. So I started nursing school. I was determined to become an oncology nurse and give back to kids with cancer like had been done for me. And I made it through, started working. And then I struggled with a lot of self-esteem issues. I was bullied a lot because back when I had the cancer, it was not common to have childhood cancer. Now, almost everyone knows someone that's been affected, which shows you how much it's increased over the past 20, 30 years. That's a topic for another day. But
Oh, yeah.
it was hard because people didn't know why a girl was bald and why she was in a dress. And so I even had adults saying things to me. So that set the tone for some self-esteem issues. And then you add in all the scars from all my surgeries. And I didn't like what I saw when I looked in the mirror, despite the fact that I was so grateful that God kept me alive. I was self-conscious. So I went and got implants, 21 years old. I said, well, I can't change the scars. I can't change the scoliosis. I can't change those things, but I could help with one thing. So let me go get these implants. And I remember looking at the doctor and asking her if they were safe. And she said yes, and nothing to worry about. So I get them. And within a month of getting these implants, all of a sudden I started experiencing a slew of symptoms. My hair was falling out in chunks. I was fatigued, like run over by a bus fatigued after sleeping 12 to 14 hours a night. I was sluggish. I had brain fog. I was having heart palpitations, dry skin, constipation. I mean, you name it, I was experiencing it. And it took me longer than I want to admit to go to the doctor because in my head I was like, great, I'm just going to be told something else is wrong with me. Never making the connection. It was actually the implants because I was just so used to all the other problems from the cancer. I just thought in my head, well, it's another cancer problem. So I put off going for a while. And then finally, as the symptoms kept getting worse, I went to go see a functional medicine doctor, actually. I had no idea really what functional medicine was, nor was I necessarily interested, but I was working for this functional med doctor doing IVs. And I look back now and I'm like, why didn't I ask more questions when I was working there? I was so focused on just doing the IVs, and it was money to pay my bills on top of my nursing job in the hospital, my oncology job, that I didn't take advantage of where I was at. But because I was working there, I was like, well, maybe she can help me. And because I know they're a little more natural minded, maybe I won't have to go on any really harsh meds because I've already had so many. So I went to her. She ends up diagnosing me with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune disease of your thyroid, and tried putting me on some more natural forms of thyroid medication. It was Armour thyroid. But unfortunately, because I have underlying heart issues from the chemo, I reacted to the Armour and I was not able to take it. So then she had to refer me to an endocrinologist. And that's when the journey really started in regards to my health taking a downhill spiral. I'd been dealing with all the issues for years and managing, but when this Hashimoto's took over and I relied on Western medicine to help me manage it, I just got sicker and sicker and sicker. So for 5 years, I did this song and dance of switching endocrinologists and switching medications and reacting to things and then trying something else. And I never got answers. I kept getting told, well, your blood work doesn't look that bad. So maybe this is all in your head. Maybe you should go talk to someone. And I literally started feeling like I was crazy. I was like, I don't feel well. I'm struggling to function. My mind doesn't work. Everything's slowed down in my body. Why am I feeling all this if my numbers are good? So fast forward and come to find out, the doctor was not doing a full thyroid panel. They were only focusing on my TSH and maybe T3 and T4. But when my antibodies were finally checked, they were off the charts, like greater than 1,000 and normal's 35. So it was like, wow, okay, this wasn't all in my head. And clearly I'm not getting anywhere following this route. So I need to take matters into my own hands and start learning about my autoimmune disease instead of just trusting conventional medicine and the doctors. And so that's what I did. And I quickly learned how much power diet has over our health and our outcomes and how we can eat to heal or eat to kill. So I started changing my diet drastically, like complete 180. We threw everything out and started over. Essentially, we started eating all organic, mostly a whole foods diet. We cut gluten, we cut dairy, we cut refined sugars, really just cleaned everything up. And I was shocked within 2 weeks just how much better I felt. So many of my symptoms had lifted. It was like this fog went away. And that was all the proof I needed that I could figure this out on my own with the medical knowledge I did have. And that's when my journey started. That was back in 2016. I still hadn't made the connection that the implants were contributing to my issues because I was so ingrained in me that it was cancer. Everything was related to cancer that I still had the implants. And so I'm healing. I learned that all the products I was putting on my body or exposing myself to had endocrine and hormone disruptors, and thyroid disease is an endocrine problem. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm feeding my disease. And so we switched out all our products. Like it was just a massive overhaul. And we had been trying to get pregnant for 5 years at this point, come 2016. I was told I probably wouldn't be able to get pregnant because of everything I'd been through. So it wasn't a shock to me that it wasn't happening. But I also didn't make the connection that it was because my body was so sick. There was no way I'd be able to carry a child. Because when we started making those changes and I was able to wean off my thyroid meds that I was told I'd be on my whole life, when I was able to put my autoimmune disease into remission, I got pregnant 9 months later with my first miracle baby. So it wasn't that I couldn't get pregnant. It was that my body was so diseased and sick and toxic that there was no way I could have gotten pregnant. And once I healed and made those changes, then it happened. So at this point, given all the rabbit holes that I had been down, I discovered breast implant illness and had backburnered. Okay, well, now I'm pregnant. My autoimmune disease is good. So maybe this isn't as much of an issue as I think it is. I'm going to backburner this and I'm going to focus on my pregnancy, which is what I did. I was a very high risk pregnancy because of all the health issues. And I remember I spent my whole pregnancy researching like 2 to 3 hours a day. I had already become more natural minded because of what I'd done in my own life. But now I'm bringing another life into the world. And how do I make sure she doesn't have to suffer like I did for so much of my life? What do I have control over that I can do for her? And so my whole pregnancy, that was the focus, on top of lots of prayers, that everything would go okay, because we had, I had been prepared for a lot of potential negative outcomes given my history. And so had some complications throughout pregnancy. Probably the biggest one was gestational diabetes due to radiation damage from my pancreas. So my doctor said, every baby that you have, you're going to have GD because your pancreas is damaged. And in my head, I thought, well, I'll show you. I'm going to figure out how to heal my pancreas. So
I love it.
I'll circle back around in a second in regards to how that went. But that was probably the biggest complication. I end up going into labor. And then as I'm contracting in labor with my daughter, all the scar tissue from my cancer surgeries and adhesions from my radiation treatments wrapped around my intestines and occluded it off. I ended up with a high-grade bowel obstruction. Bought myself a 15-day hospital stay, ended up in the ICU. I had two blood clots. I needed a paracentesis. I ended up with E. coli. It was like the longer I was there, the more problems it happened. Yeah. And worst of all, I was separated from my baby, like my baby that I'd prayed for so many years, and couldn't wait to just meet and love on. I was separated from her. So it was so hard. It was such a hard start to her life, and a hard start to being a mother. And I also had medical knowledge at this point. So the whole time I'm going through this, I realized how sick I am. And I kept having these thoughts of, am I even going to make it out of the hospital? Like, did God bring me this far to take me up to be with him now? Like those intrusive thoughts, because I was so sick. And we just kept the faith. We did exactly what we did back when I had the cancer. Just everyone was praying that I could get out of there and that I would be okay. And on discharge day, the doctor came in, and as he's signing my papers, he said something I'll never forget. He was like, I don't know what kind of a God you serve, because everybody knows that I'm a Christian. I don't hide it. They saw us praying. They saw Bible verses around the room. They knew. So his comment was, I don't know what kind of a God you serve, but he must have big plans for you, because I thought I'd be signing your death certificate instead of your discharge papers.
I love it.
So
I got the goosebumps, the God bumps.
I get it every time too, because it's just like, wow, another near death shouldn't be here, but here I am.
Here you are.
And that like feeling of, wow, God must have big plans for me, because he keeps allowing me to cheat death. So fast forward, I start healing again, because obviously everything I went through in the hospital, all the hard work I had done just went to the wayside. I was infused with drugs and antibiotics, and it was a mess. So I had to heal again. So I started on the journey to heal again, and was feeling very good despite what my numbers were showing, because I was so strict with my diet and lifestyle. But fast forward to when we started working together, and despite how good I felt, I was able to test my own labs, and I kept showing signs of inflammation. My autoimmune disease wasn't quite getting into remission. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I think I need a little bit of help with this, because I can't quite figure out why my numbers look like this despite such a strict diet and lifestyle. And it had been almost, 2.5 years of healing since my daughter, when I finally came to you. And so we did a panel of labs. You and I talked about breast implant illness, and you agreed with me that the implants needed to come out. And so now that I had my daughter healed as much as I could, and I was 2.5 years out, I finally was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. There was a mental component to it too, because
which we worked through.
For a reason. And so I had to get my mind right there. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to be healthy. I wanted to be there for my daughter. And if this was going to help me get there, then I needed to do it. So we had our appointment together. And then I ended up being able to be squeezed into one of the best surgeons down here, which was another God thing. If he had like a 2-year wait list.
Yes.
And I remember sobbing on the phone to them and basically being like, I can't wait 2 years. I'm so sick. And unfortunately, they hear that story all the time. That's why they have so many people coming to them to get their implants taken out. But she ends up calling me back. She's like, I can take you like next week if you can come in and do this. And I was not ready, but I was ready. So I went in, I got the implants out, and I started detoxing again, started healing again, because I realized how many toxins and heavy metals and things my body had absorbed, how inflamed I was. We saw that on my labs due to what these implants were doing to me. It's a foreign substance. Come on, like, the fact that I didn't think of that when I first got them in, but you don't know what you don't know. And until you have a reason or an awakening, sometimes things that seem like they're common sense aren't if you don't know. So it took me forever, figured it out, got them out, started detoxing, and we were not planning to get pregnant again. I had been told by 7 doctors, do not get pregnant. It could kill you next time. And I actually decided that was a good idea to take them seriously because, yes, I serve a good God, but I've already had too many near-death experiences. We had our miracle baby. I didn't want to risk my life and leaving her without a mom. So my husband and I started talking about surrogacy or adoption. And in the process of the detoxing I was doing from the implants, I think I detoxed my way to being super fertile because I accidentally got pregnant. Which is still crazy to me to think how long it took to get pregnant with my first, and then without trying, we get pregnant with my second. Like, wow, right?
Exactly.
It shows how much healing it's done. So we get pregnant again, and naturally that pregnancy is a little fear-based. I had to give it to God every single day because I was having nightmares about me dying in labor, not making it home to my babies. And so I really, really, really had to give a lot of that to God. And I'm so happy to report that by the grace of God, everything went completely different. I was in and out of the hospital in 36 hours, no complications. I did not have gestational diabetes with him, so I had healed my pancreas. And it was just a completely different experience. So thank the Lord. Now I'm healing again. He is so good. Because postpartum knocks you out of balance. So here I go. My happy takes off again. And I'm like, we got to do this again. But I know what to do. And I'm grateful that I have the knowledge. So I start healing again. And my husband and I are clearly very bad at natural family planning, Kate, because I end up accidentally pregnant again.
We might need to talk about that. No.
That's a combo for another day because so here we are again, 3rd pregnancy, little bit of fear, not as much because I saw that I was capable of having a different type of birth experience, but still some. And unfortunately, this pregnancy was the worst of my 3. It was hard and bad from day one. I don't know if it's because I'm older, because I've already been through 2, or just a combination of everything my poor body has been through, that another pregnancy was so much. But it was very rough. It got to the point where I felt like I was dying slowly every day because I was having so many issues. So it took a lot of mental and emotional and physical strength and so many prayers. Like I was just diving into scripture daily. I had scriptures all over my bathroom just to get me through each hour because it had gotten so bad. So I could not wait for him to come Earthside. And thank goodness, by the grace of God, again, he did, with no complications, no gestational diabetes again. And I was home from the hospital in 36 hours. So it's a lot. I've been through a lot. Here I am with 3 miracle babies. I changed my whole career after my second one was born, ended up in functional medicine because after I'd experienced the healing that I did, there was no way I could keep working in the conventional Western medicine model. You know all about that. I had to figure out a way to help people heal internally and teach them how to prevent disease and just do what I was now so passionate about because I had experienced it. I was given my life back. How could I not talk about it and share about it? So my whole career changed. I launched my business in 2021, and God has just used that in ways that are just beyond my, like, I can't believe it when I think about what he's been doing in my life these past few years, and that he blessed me with 3 healthy,
No.
beautiful babies. I'm so grateful. So,
Yeah. Oh,
oh,
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Melissa. Because yeah, as
it's a
you've
lot.
been through so much. There's so many things that I want to briefly speak to. Because like as a 10-year-old, and especially in Western conventional medicine, after surviving cancer, you're just labeled with, well, this is just how life is going to be as a cancer survivor, right? So I've talked about this in a couple episodes on the podcast about the identity piece and how Western medicine is so quick to label us with certain diagnoses and identities, right? It's like, well, this is just how it is. And, or if you have labs and they're normal, it's like, well, it's probably just age. It's probably just this. It's probably that. But no, there's something deeper going on. And obviously back in the day, we didn't understand the root causes of cancer. Now we have the information, the knowledge to really get to the root of just the physical things. But I also do believe it's mental, emotional, even spirituals. And that's what we're bringing in together now. So there's that piece of disconnecting, because you had to disconnect from that identity. And I truly believe like when we can disconnect from that, the diagnosis that we're given, right, it allows healing to happen. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I've taken from the Bible. The reason people were healed is because they believed they could heal. And when you don't have this belief that you can heal, it's going to be really hard to heal, right? Because God can heal us. He is the ultimate physician, right?
He designed our bodies to heal.
To heal. Exactly. Exactly. And we can do all the right things. We can eat healthy. We can take the supplements or not take the supplements, exercise, sleep, do all the right things, right? But we also need that belief. And you're absolutely right. He designed our bodies to heal, but we also need to bring in that belief. So I just want to acknowledge that, because that's such a huge thing as you've gone through your journey, which I do believe, yes, God has a bigger purpose for you. But in order to step into that, you also had to change and break that belief, right? About being a cancer survivor. And this is just how it is, right? Versus like, yeah, I'm a cancer survivor and I'm healed and I feel my best. And also like another thing that I love to bring up on podcasts is using mindset and faith on your journey, because we are all going to go through seasons of trials. And whether that's a trial with our health or relationship, with our career, our business, our family, whatever it is, we have to use mindset and faith. And you've touched upon a lot of those already, how God showed up for you in those moments because you chose to go into prayer, chose to worship him, choose to surrender. And that is huge. And I do believe that's a huge part of our healing that we sometimes take very lightly. You know, we don't tend to dial into. But when you're saying you were reading scripture during was it your pregnancy or your delivery? Yeah. His word is so powerful. And even when we may not feel our best or feel like doing it, it's just doing it anyway, because we're feeling our mind. It's easy to get vulnerable. And so there's so much that I share on the podcast, different conversations of things that we've talked about today, just in this episode alone. And I can link some of those episodes for you to go back and listen to. But I love just like everything that you share, Melissa.
Yeah.
You know, because when I think of Radiant and Resilient, you are a picture of that. Because when you came to see me in 2020, I knew there was so much healing that still needed to happen from that moment, and reconnecting 5 years later, hearing your story and how God has just like really transformed you. It's just been beautiful to see, because when I saw you in 2020 to now, you literally are radiant, you're glowing, you look healthy, and you are resilient because of everything that you've gone through, all the trials, the challenges, but yet still choosing to glorify God. It's a beautiful testimony. And I just appreciate you so much for sharing and for this conversation today, because it's so powerful. And that's why I brought you on, because you are an example of what it looks like to be radiant and resilient. And so I'm curious, what does radiant and resilient mean to you?
Well, thank you so much, first off, for getting me kickstarted, on my journey in 2020, and also just for bringing me on. It's been an honor. Radiant and resilient to me just means letting God shine through me in everything that I do. because he's the reason that I'm still here. Without him, I don't know how people get through life, honestly. How do you go through trials without faith? Because no matter what I've been through or what's been thrown my way, I'm able to lean on the fact that it's his plan and his purpose, and he's walking alongside that with me. And because of that, I want that shining through and showing in everything I do, every interaction I have with people, how I show up online, how I show up for my clients, my kids, everybody. What you see is what you get with me. It's not like, oh, Melissa's this way behind closed doors. It's 100% real, raw, authentic, and vulnerable at all times, because God's just blessed me too much to just stay quiet and not let that shine through. So, and then I think there's a component of it too, because of the work I've done with changing my diet and going low tox and making sure I'm getting movement every day. And prior to having a baby, good sleep, because my son is hell-bent on not letting me sleep right now. But I think there's a component of Radiance that shines through too when you're doing those things, coupled with prioritizing your relationship with God and that aspect. And when you combine all of that, it's impossible not to feel resilient and feel radiant. And also, in my opinion, have it show. If I could show you a before and after where I was 7 years ago, or even when I saw you in 2020, it's a massive difference.
It is such a huge difference.
That shines through in every interaction.
And from what I've been able to see, it does. It definitely does. And like I said, you're definitely a beautiful testimony of just how God has been working in you and through you to fill that purpose of helping more people. And thank you again, Melissa. I keep getting we were talking about, instead of calling them goosebumps, they're God bumps. Over and over again as you share. I just now got those God bumps, because God is definitely moving. And just thank you again for your time. And if you're listening and you're like, wow, sharing her story really inspired me, definitely check her out. She shares so much information about low tox living and not just health tips and perspectives, but also brings in the spirituality piece, which I love, because like you said, it's like, how can you not be quiet, right? And I love the blending of all that, because I do believe, radiant and resilient is being able to incorporate a healthy living, but also a mind and soul, having that relationship with God. Because when the mind, body, and spirit is integrated, it's all connected. Exactly. That's when we feel our best. That's when we shine and we're radiant from the inside out. So share with those that are listening, how can they learn more about you and learn everything that you're sharing? Where can they find you?
And the place I'm showing up the most nowadays is Instagram. So natural.minded.mama, MAMA.
Perfect.
I do my best to show up daily and just share what my family does on a daily basis, how we live, what we eat. Like Kate said, trickling in my faith, because that's the most important thing in the world to me. So if you know anything about me, you have to know that my faith is number one. So I'm, of course, trickling that in. The whole goal is just to inspire people to be their best advocate and teaching people how to make better choices for their health. So you can find everything I've shared. I have highlights, I have links, different things like that over on my Instagram page. So I'd love for you guys to come on over, and feel free to also DM me and tell me you watch this podcast. That would mean a lot.
Yes. I always say, reach out, let us know share your takeaways with us, what inspired you the most with Melissa sharing her story. And hopefully, Melissa, one day you will write that book. I will even give you the transcript, so that could be a start.
I know, I'm coming to you because you've already done it. So I will be coming to you. It's just not in this season, hopefully down the road.
Down the road. There is no rush, but
busy mama season now.
Exactly. Yeah. You and I are both in busy mama season. Absolutely. But definitely follow her for her tips, and hopefully, when she releases her book in the future, so you can grab a copy of that. And before we go, I just wanted to ask, is there anything else that you wanted to share that's on your heart?
I mean, I think we covered a lot. I bombarded
Yeah.
I bombarded y'all with a crazy story, but I like to encourage people because all of us go through trials, all of us go through tribulations, and it's
Yes.
easy to get down about whatever you're going through. Trust
Yeah.
me, I've been there a lot.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, if we're able to pull our blessings
Mm.
out of any situation and focus on those, it helps us through those tough times because tough times don't last forever. There's peaks and there's valleys, and when we're in a valley, I just want to encourage you guys to focus on pulling out your blessings. For me, because so much of my
Mm.
journey has been just difficulties with health, I'm always having to focus on the beautiful things that have come in my
Yeah. Mm.
life despite all of the health issues. And right now, it's my three kids. I look at them every day. I tear up every day. I get goosebumps, like
Mm. I
just
love that.
looking at them and seeing what God has done by blessing me with not just one miracle baby, but three.
Yes.
Given everything I've been through and given the fact that doctors said I wouldn't probably be able to have kids. So just focus on those blessings. We can all pull them out, whatever they are. And that will make whatever situation you're going through
Mm.
better because you know that there's good. There's good too. So,
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I love that so much. In fact, I create like a God's faithfulness, or you can create God's blessings, name it whatever you want, and just make a list. So, like Melissa says, like whenever you're going through a trial season, because there will be many, you
especially if
can
you're
always go back.
there's even more, it seems like.
Oh yeah, I mean
For
it's
another
part
day
part of
again. We have to do like
it.
20 more podcast episodes, Kate.
Exactly. Oh, we I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. But yeah, it's always good to go back, and it's just it's a beautiful reminder that God is faithful. God always comes through no matter what we're going through. So thank you again for sharing that, and thank you so much for your time, sharing your heart, your story. I'm so grateful that we've reconnected after all this time.
Yeah, me as well. It's been awesome. Thanks for bringing me on.
Absolutely.